Welcome to Spirit School. I'm Danielle, a medium and spiritual mentor and storyteller with over a decade experience, here to guide you through the profound intersections of spirituality, healing, and self-discovery. Spirit School is more than a podcast. It's a sanctuary, a place where you can connect with the wisdom of the unseen world, explore the depths of your own soul, and uncover the boundless life force energy within. Whether you're stepping into your spiritual gifts, navigating a healing journey, or seeking tools for a life filled with intention and meaning, you belong here. In each episode is a beacon of light, blending heartfelt stories, practical teachings, and reflections from my own path. Together, we'll celebrate the magic in the mundane and discover the extraordinary in everyday moments. Through Spirit School, we co-create a world where hope thrives, inspiration uplifts, and the power of spirit is undeniable. Welcome to Spirit School. Let's continue this journey of light and transformation together. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Spirit School. Super happy to have you here. I have had a lot of requests since season 2 launched of the podcast. Still feels weird saying that 6 years into the podcast, but one thing that continues to come up is around the spirit messages. As many of you longtime listeners remember, I did spirit messages every single month for about 4 years, and you really enjoyed them. And in truth, they were by far the most downloaded episodes I've ever had. And for reasons I've mentioned on the podcast before, I just put a bit of a pause on them. And I felt called this morning to hit record as I spent a little bit of time with spirit. So I will get you these messages that they have been giving me here in a second. I feel it's important to talk about my human because so many of you have requested that I talk a little bit more about doing this work and being a mom. And I even tried to run a class last year called This One's for the Mom, but there wasn't enough uptake to make a class out of it. So I'm trying to weave some of my personal stories into the podcast episodes. So as I sit here to channel these spirit messages for you, it's actually because I had to take some time to myself this morning because I have readings today. I have an interview with one of my collective members for our super segment called, I don't know what it's called yet, but I'm playing with the name Spirit School After Hours or Spirit School Behind the Scenes, but I'm doing interviews with collective members on the Spirit School platform, and we're doing our second interview today with Aaron. I have that coming. I have a beautiful reading with a gorgeous soul who signed up for the initiation, so I'm doing that today. But do you think my kids care that I have to be a channel today? No. And from the second I woke up, I mean, it's a full moon. Yesterday it was exact. Today we're in the residual energies of this full moon, which is during probably one of the most heightened and intensive times of our lifetimes. Even my parents who grew up in the Cold War said it's never been like this. So to ignore the fact that we are living in intense times is silly. We are, and we all feel it, especially sensitive people, and we're all trying to do the best that we can. But kids don't have boundaries. And yeah, my kids, both of them, just one of them, woke up today with just a lot of heat, a lot of defiance. And I was telling my husband on the way into HQ, I said, oh my gosh, I know I quit my job all these years ago so I could take the kids to school, but the mornings are like a full shift for me. Breakfast, lunches, getting all the snow gear on, getting them dressed, having them listen. I think being a mom is like the hardest thing I do. And you always feel really bad because you have to be a bit tough in the mornings. There's things that have to get done. There's timelines that have to be met. And it's hard. And today was a hard day. And it was a hard drop off. And I'm very worried for my son's health right now. And it's a lot. It's carrying a lot. And then you come into your work and you got to be a channel and you got to be clear and move your stuff aside to let the spirit world move through you. So this morning I came into Spirit School and I cleaned and I made myself a beautiful coffee, like my first kind of hot, peaceful coffee of the day. And I just sat with spirit, sat with my essence. I put on a nervous system repair playlist on Spotify, which is so brilliant. And I just started catching my breath and I lit my candle and I burnt my sage and I cleansed my heart. And I just sat there taking some deep breaths, calming my energy, letting the emotions move through me, because sometimes when you're so active, you got to let them move through you, your emotions. So I did that. And as I was sitting there for about, 20 minutes, calming my nervous system, loosening up around life, bringing in a bit more love into my heart, all these visuals started coming up. And I did feel like they were coming from spirit, maybe my own spirit, maybe the spirit world, but regardless, they were coming in. And the first thing that I saw was Aladdin. And Aladdin in the scene with Jasmine, where they're running away from the people who are trying to bring Jasmine back to the palace. And Aladdin extends his hand and he says, "Do you trust me?" And what's funny is I have a video of my son. It was early in the pandemic, so he was about 3 years old, maybe 4. And we had just watched Aladdin. I think it's when Disney Plus first came out and you could start watching Disney's again. And I remember showing my kids Aladdin, and I have this video of my son about to run a relay in soccer, and he looks at me and he extends his hand out and he says, "Do you trust me?" It was the cutest thing I've ever seen. And that's just such his Libra heart. He's just such a romantic and so sensitive, and I have a bit of mom guilt being a bit hard on him today, but I want to bring that into the podcast with all authenticity. So as I was tuning into this vision and just smiling, seeing Aladdin extend his hand to me, feeling like it's the spirit world very much asking us, "Do you trust me?" And when I said yes, my heart softened and it opened. So trust is a way to open and soften the heart. I trust you blindly, Spirit. Absolutely. And as I was leaning into the essence of trust and allowing these visions of Aladdin to move through me, the next scene I was brought to was around the scene just before Aladdin meets Jasmine, and him and Abu take the apple up into their secret hideout, which is where they're squatting or staying. It's their house. And how happy they are and how satisfied they are and how fulfilled they feel with their adventure. And even though he doesn't have furniture around him, he looks out adoringly over to the palace, a little bit with envy and longing. But what was brought to my attention that I feel it's important for me to discuss with you all is around how happy he was even when he had nothing. And all he had was the adventure with his best friend and half an apple that he shared with his monkey. And he was satisfied. And his life got a little bit more complicated when he strived for and achieved financial greatness, this sense of security that we're told is so important for us, living in a palace, having elephants to ride on to go meet the princess, having a parade of people around you, having gold to throw out to everybody, all the fanciest clothes. Difficult and complicated his life got when he started to effort and maybe forego some of his ethics to pursue love. Now, this is in the name of love, but what I'm trying to express is there's a message here around being happy with what you have. And this is actually a thought that came through yesterday after I logged off from a very busy day of calls and interviews and all these different things. I had a thought pop into my head that said, "You want more? You're not even happy with what you got." And it was such an interesting voice that was coming into my head, and I laughed in response to it. And it reminded me of some of these teachings that some law of attraction teachers have around desiring what we want, what we don't have, but the access to that is actually through appreciating what we do have. So I think back to this morning and driving to work after dropping my son off and complaining a lot and actually entertaining the idea with him saying, we need to switch shifts. I'll go to work early. You do the morning routine and I'll do the afternoon routine, because right now I'm doing both. And my job is flexible because I work for myself. So I get to pick my hours. I get to pick all the things. But it was like so hard. I wanted to not do the mornings anymore, which was originally why I wanted to quit my job. I remember the first few weeks of being full-time. Now keep in mind, we were in lockdown within 3 weeks. So really I had 3 weeks where I would drive the kids to school and I would be crying the whole way because I felt so blessed to have a life that I could drop my kids off at school. My kids were 4 and 7 before that happened, really. 3 and 6, 4 and 7, before I could do the drop-offs in the morning and not rush out of the house before they woke up. And it sat with me as I'm saying this as a spirit message for you and for me and for us. You know, it is a blessing to have these mornings with them, and I don't want to wish them away. And finding ways to be more appreciative of the experiences that we have, while finding ways to manage the chaos, and then most importantly, finding ways to stay well when there is chaos. Really what I feel part of the human experience is. So let this be a spirit message for you to just take a look around, even at this moment. If you just take a deep breath and stretch your back out straight and sit up tall and look around your space right now, And can you name 3 things that you're appreciated for, that you're appreciative of? And just taking a glance around. It could be a plant that grounds you, or a crystal that elevates you, or lip gloss that highlights you. Picking 3 things that you're incredibly grateful for. And this is very much the energy that brings in more, and it brings in more. As I move through the visuals that they are giving me around Aladdin, I'm seeing that, okay, this actually makes a lot of sense to something that Spirit was saying earlier too. Yes, you can trust us, and we know and we see that your trust has been broken in the past. We know and we see that you have leaned into trust before and your trust wasn't met with reciprocity. You lost your trust in somebody or something. And so there is an unconscious part of you who will remind you it doesn't always work out and people are not always trustworthy. And Spirit is coming in, showing me the scene of Aladdin where Aladdin and Jafar are outside the cave, and Jafar's tricked him into going down to get the lamp, the genie in the lamp, and how much Aladdin trusted him, and only to have his trust broken. And the trust was not restored through and repaired through the person who broke the trust. It was through divine being, the genie, Spirit, the metaphysical, the mystical. And over time, Spirit gave Aladdin exactly what he wanted and what he asked for, until he realized, I don't need any of this. And what a gift and a blessing that Spirit gifted Aladdin to be able to go through his journey, go through his experience, work with the ego, work with the material world, only to come back to a place where love is all there is. That was Spirit that did that. That was Spirit that rebuilt the trust. Remind yourself of that. Remind yourself of all the times Spirit gave you what you wanted, only to realize, oh, there's a more expansive vision here. There's a bigger dream here. Time to reshift, time to rejig. Doesn't mean it's not meant to be. Just means that you're getting clearer on how you want to spend your time here on this planet during this time. There's also a lot of symbology that came up around the dynamic of power. And Caroline Myss always has this beautiful quote where she says the human experience essentially is from the love of power to the power of love. We come into the world screaming and learning how to get people to respond to our needs. And we learn these power dynamics as babies, when we're hungry, when we're tired, when we have gas. We use that power of our voice, of our tears, to get what we need from the external world and the material world. It makes sense that we are negotiating with power in a way that could be seen as manipulative, could be seen as trying to get the material world to bend to our needs. But as we mature through life and as we go through life and we soften, we realize love is all there is. And that is the power of this life, is love. In mediumship, there is no power of mediumship without love, without the need. I absolutely cannot do mediumship if there is not a connection of love. Even if there is drama and trauma with the family or whoever is coming through, there is some sort of soul connection that has love attached to it. So I can't channel just any spirit on the other side. There has to be this tether of love and this need. So the spirit message around where are you at in your transition, in your life, in your lived experience, from the love of power to the power of love. This is just something to contemplate and think about. Spirit is, and they had me do this on the weekend actually. I'm working on the retreat and I'm working on a lot of different things. And there's a lot of teachings around the elements that are coming in. The element of wind, of sound, of light, of air, earth, fire, water, of course. All of these elements of wood and crystal, rock. There's elements all around us. And I've been playing a lot with the element of light. It's going to be a big part of the retreat in June, I feel. And Spirit had me find a place in the forest that light was coming through the trees. It's one of my favorite visuals on this planet. I tell you, I was a teenager when I saw at IKEA, of all things, this picture of trees with the sun behind it and light coming through the trees, and it stopped me dead in my tracks. And I was like, this is heaven. This is what heaven looks like. And still to this day, I will be walking through the forest, which I live in the forest, so they're all around me. And anytime I see light come through the trees, it stops me dead in my tracks. It's like looking at a rainbow. It's so mystical. I'm in such awe of that. But for the first time this past weekend, I actually had an anxiety attack. And then my body was responding for days after that. I just kept getting hives and like these welts because my body was just not having it because of just other things I have going on that are really intense right now that have nothing to do with my mediumship or how I serve, but have to do with other parts of my material world that are just overtaking my life right now. And as I was walking through the forest trying to get the hives to simmer and settle into my body, which it did work, there was sun peeking through the trees. And Spirit said to me, let the light come in your back. Because I always stand before the light coming through the tree and I have it go on my third eye and I have it come into my heart. But Spirit said, have it come into your back. And so I turned around and I let the sun beam in through my back. And what was so funny is that the shadow that I cast was upon something in the woods that I had to see. And it was like a perfect casting of my shadow on exactly what I needed to see in this teaching that Spirit brought me, which I'll talk about on another episode. But it made me think about even when we're doing our energy work and we're doing our energy clearing, we're doing our smoke clearing or using light or sound or feathers or bells, how often we may forget what is behind us. And this is something that Spirit wants to bring in. Can we focus on how's the energy behind us? When I do my mediumship, all the information comes from behind me. And so I know that this area of our physical body and this area of our aura could use some extra love right now. So maybe you feel called to stand in the sun and let the sun come through your back and let the cleansing with light happen through the chakra systems or the energy centers behind you. And the dual meaning in this message is Spirit is reminding us of who stands behind us. There's that quote, I can't remember who said it, but if we know who surrounded us, we would never be afraid. And so Spirit is saying the season of change is upon us. Nothing is going to be the same. That could be said of any time in history. So instead of focusing on the past, just let the light cleanse the past and what you've left behind. Just let light fill that space. And that's the message that I receive around that. There is also a calling here that Spirit is bringing me around you planting seeds around ideas. This is something I did when I was starting to write my book last year, and then another project came up that I can't talk about on the podcast. If you're in the collective, I only had permission to share it with my membership. It's killing me. I can't talk about it until probably summer, but I started writing a book and then this other project came in that is just much bigger. So I had to put the book aside a little bit. And what happened was as I sat down to start writing my book, I planted tobacco seeds as a way to signify the beginning of a new project. And then I've been harvesting the leaves as it's been growing, and I've harvested about 20% of the leaves. And funny enough, I'm about 20% done my project. And I still hope to work on it and plug away at it in creative ways through recording audio lessons on it, working on different workbooks on it. So I'm still working towards it in the teachings, possibly creating a blog around it to get started. But I planted these seeds at the onset of a project to almost signify the beginning of something big. And Spirit wants you to think of something big that you want to do, something big that you want to create, that you want to bring into the world, that you want to accomplish, that you want to achieve. And Spirit is encouraging you to grab a pot and grab a seed of your favorite herb. Maybe it's lemon balm or basil or, God, what's that one? I'm thinking of cilantro. That's definitely an acquired taste, but maybe pick an herb that you enjoy eating or putting into tea or working with, something that you have a personal connection to. And as you are setting an intention to create something big for yourself, plant a seed with it. Nurture that plant as you are nurturing what it is that you're trying to bring into life. And yeah, that's something that Spirit kept bringing to me every time I was feeling down or lost or getting distracted on things that were just like a waste of time. I would be drawn to something in the natural world and I would hear in my heart, tend to your tobacco, tend to your tobacco. And I would pick up whatever was before me when I got that calling from Spirit to tend to my seeds, to tend to my plant, to tend to my tobacco. And one of them was like a fern clipping. The other one was a red leaf that was just so beautiful and red. And I collected all these symbols from the spirit world that were little reminders to me to tend to my creation, to tend to my goal and my plan and my medicine. And I kept all of that in a beautiful red cloth that I keep beside my tobacco plant. Funny enough, I originally planted these 2 tobacco plants in 2 different pots. And what happened was I started creating my project and then I just had a lot of personal things come up and I got really sidetracked and one of my plants ended up dying. And that was the first time I ever had tobacco not flourish to medicine that I can use in my own personal practice, which I do. And I remember feeling defeated and feeling, oh my God, I've let my plant down. Like I've been bailing on this idea, and I actually moved this plant down to the kitchen where it's not warm enough because I don't have the heart to throw a plant out. I will keep those Christmas poinsettias. I will have a poinsettia for 4 years. I will not throw it out. And I put it in the kitchen to just let it die on its own. And my husband sometimes will tend to them a little bit down there because he's like, why are all these plants here? I'll take a picture on my Instagram once I publish this episode so you guys can see my graveyard of dying plants. And I have some really healthy ones too. But I gave up on that whole batch of tobacco and I just focused on tending to this other one. Would you be surprised that one single tobacco sprout flourished? And I brought it back upstairs and I put it next to the other tobacco. And it was a teaching for me to not give up on myself so early, to not give up on my idea so early, that the end isn't the end. That, yeah, maybe 10 things might fall apart, but one thing might remain. And can you focus on that one thing? Can you see that one thing as a blessing? And can you, I don't know, there's something around accomplishments around this. And I think too, the teaching around this is working more in harmony with the natural world around us. We chose to incarnate to this beautiful planet that we have destroyed, and still she flourishes, and still she blooms, and still she thrives, and still she runs through her cycles as she always has and she always will, despite our negligence. There are so many teachings in the natural world around us, and I feel very called to tell you that it is so important, especially as healers and light workers, that we get more in tune with the natural world around us. And maybe, just maybe, enough of us do this, enough of us get reciprocal exchange and a mutual experience of respect with our planet, that maybe that ripple effect will matter more. I don't know. That's something that comes through that I just want to bring through. We pull one card just to see what comes up. And your final message I'm going to give you around this, I'm using Asha Frost, just so you know, the Sacred Medicine Oracle. I have her animal deck, but I use it at home. I'm at Spirit School right now. And it's this beautiful Indigenous woman, and she has one hand on her belly and one hand on her heart. And it's the Rainbow Activation card. But what I'm feeling around this card is really tending to your nervous system, tending to your human, making sure you're taking care of yourself in the times of chaos. Spirit is reminding me, I started this episode sharing about the chaos of my morning, and it crumbled me. It made me so sad and got me started off in not a great way. And when I had the space and the time, I took the time to tend to my nervous system. I put a nervous system playlist on, and I made sure that I got to be centered and a bit clearer than before I stepped into service. I wasn't even intending on recording this today. This came through the activation of settling down enough for 20 minutes to get right again in my spirit, my human, and my soul. And I remember saying that to my husband on the way in. I got to go get myself right. I got people to serve today. And I just wanted to serve you first as my listeners and loyal listeners of the Spirit School podcast. Can you place your hand on your belly? Can you place one in your heart and breathe in love? Breathe in tender care. Breathe in self-appreciation. Breathe in self-resilience. Breathe in self-determination. Breathe in energy and healing. Breathe in vibrancy and vitality. And spend a few minutes holding yourself, literally holding yourself, and breathing in everything good that is in life in the world. And I bet you your energy will shift right away. So my friends, I hope that these spirit messages resonate with you. I hope that you receive something out of them that propels you forward on your week in a wonderful way. I appreciate you. I love you. And I will see you the next episode of the Spirit School podcast. Thank you for joining me on Spirit School today, friends. I am so grateful for this time that we spent together exploring the power of spirit, the depths of healing, and the magic of self-discovery. My hope is that each episode leaves you feeling inspired, empowered, and connected to the boundless energy of your own soul. If you've enjoyed today's episode, I invite you to take the next step on your journey by joining me in the Spirit School community. Inside, you'll find a vibrant space filled with like-minded souls, access to exclusive teachings, live mentorship opportunities, and the support to deepen your trust in your spiritual gifts while embracing your humanity. Visit myspiritschool.com to learn more and become part of this growing family of seekers and light bringers. Let's continue to co-create a rich life with spirit, love, and purpose together. Until next time, keep shining your light and walking your soul's path. Take care, my friends, and be well.